Hey everyone, welcome back to She Works Podcast. Today's guest is Lisa. Hi Lisa.
Hi, Brooke. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for being a guest today.
Thank you for having me. Happy New Year.
Oh yeah. Happy New Year to you too. So can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
I'm Lisa Czarina Michaud, if you want to say it with a French accent, or Michaud. I'm an American girl living in Paris. I'm just your typical Italian American Long Island girl. I have the accent. And one day I just moved to Paris and was broke and ate baguettes. And I wrote a book, not about that. I wrote a book, a young adult, kind of new adult book about a rock and roll band from New York. But there's a lot of French influences. I couldn't help it. The character, it's based on two characters, and the guy character is French and really cute. And I've been making readers fall in love with him all year. So there's a little, as we say, French touch.
That's cool. Wow, you moved to Paris. That's nice. I would love to go there. Is it really, this is gonna be a dumb question. Is it really expensive? Like I want to move away from here.
I find I find France in general a lot cheaper than the United States. Like when my husband and I go back to New York and visit my mom, and she's not even in the city, she's like on Long Island, as I said, I find groceries really expensive and gas. And so, no, I mean, rent, I mean, it's not cheap, but I mean, when I moved to Paris, I was sharing a studio apartment with some guy I didn't know who was a model.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we lived right by the Eiffel Tower. He was really cute, and he was very much not interested in me romantically. I was like, "Why don't you love me?" I was like, "This is a French dream. We live by the Eiffel Tower," and he was like so French, and he was like, "That is such a cliche. Just no." And so because of that, I was able to live in Paris because I only paid the equivalent of like $400. So
What? Wow, that's nice. That's what I'm saying now.
I was sharing a bed with a guy I didn't know, though.
Oh, never mind then.
That
So
might
can
feel
you,
weird, right, Brooke?
so can you tell us what inspired your book, Slanted and Disenchanted? Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah, perfect. Slanted and Disenchanted. It's inspired by my love of rock and roll, and then my love of just, you know, recalling what it was like to becoming an adult. So the characters are 20 and they're turning 21, and they're just like, what does it all mean? When are we officially adults? Like we can drink, we can vote, but like we still live with our parents. And I don't know how to manage my feelings. I don't understand anything. And I just remember that feeling where it was like, I'm 21 and I didn't live with my mom anymore, but I just felt like this child paying rent, like writing my rent check. And my landlady at the time, she was like, it was like you were like a baby. And so the big theme of that is just, stumbling into adulthood and just being like, when does this happen? When do I become an adult, between relationships, that post high school weirdness where you kind of are still feeling like you're in high school, but you're not. And,
Right.
you have the French character has his high school girlfriend still. And, maybe there's a little tension between the guy and the girl when they start their band. I don't want to spoil anything, but
That's why I was gonna ask you. Could you give us a brief summary of your book? But yeah, you can give us like a little bit of it if you want. Like you don't have to spoil
sure.
the whole thing.
No, I'd be happy to. So he's working at Starbucks, and she's developing photos. It takes place in the year 2000, so it's Y2K, hence
uh,
developing photos. And they went to school together, and they run into each other, and they both realize they have a lot of like interests in music, and they both play an instrument. So they start a little band, and they start to fall in like with each other. But
oh,
he has his girlfriend, his high school girlfriend, who goes to college in Boston, and she doesn't approve of this two-piece band, and all of their friends are trying to get them together. And they just say, you know what, F it. And they get in their van and they drive from New York to California on a rock tour. And that's where all their secrets and all the questions they had about life and everything they were running from catch up to them.
Ooh, I love that. So are like the way that your book ended, is there room for another book, like something to add on to it?
Absolutely. There's totally a sequel. I've already written it. It's being edited and it's going to come out spring 2023. And we find out where they end up, what happens to his girlfriend, what happens to them, what they mean to each other. And basically it's all secrets come out on the open road, because it's just you and the highway and everything comes out because you get the road crazies.
It's nice. So do they meet new friends on the way, like new people that join their group or anything? Oh, you don't want to give it away.
Yeah, new friends, new flirtations, new this and that, new jealousies, and there's a Walmart parking lot scene.
Ooh, I can't wait to read this. So have you ever thought of like doing like I'm trying to think of the word for it, like not a podcast based on your books, but like live videos or anything to discuss your books with like your readers or anything? Like, have you ever thought about that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm dabbling in TikTok. I'm trying to figure that whole thing out. And I know that that's a platform to talk with your readers. I'm not getting a million questions yet. So I think once the readers start pounding down, I get a lot of emails. Readers are a little older. So they contact me via email, or I'll get a tweet every so often. But maybe once they start reaching out to younger readers, they'll want to have more of a video interaction with me, which I would love.
Yeah, that would be nice. Because I heard a lot of people doing that, like on live stream and stuff. They'll go on Twitch and talk with a lot of the readers and stuff. Yeah, that would be nice. So before we started the interview, you mentioned Goodreads. So you want to tell us a little bit about that, your story?
Yeah, well, what I was telling everyone, I was telling Brooke, is that I was on Goodreads. I'm currently reading Dave Grohl's memoir called Storyteller. And, I was just futzing around on Goodreads, wanting to check out reviews. I love reading reviews, the good, the bad, everything, so I can like agree and disagree. And I'm scrolling down his page and I see my book on his page. So like, okay. So I thought it was just like the algorithm being like, oh, here's your book too, just like linking up, I don't know, my stuff with his, I don't know. But then I'm like, wait a minute. No, that's like, it's on his page. And so apparently we've been included in this list of Pop Sugar's rock books to read of 2022. And the readers of my book have upvoted it close to his. So the first 5 books, it's number 4. I'm in the top 5. And because of that, my book is on his Goodreads page and his book is on mine, which would make sense. I'm actually reading it. I mean, there's like this advertisement for my book on the drummer of Nirvana's Goodreads. I was like, I'm such a huge Nirvana fan. So I'm like, this is like karma for me for all the albums and time I've listened to Nirvana and the Foo Fighters and Queens of the Stone Age. Like, this is like the rock gods being like, this one's for you.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like when I looked on that, I was like, your book is number 4. That's cool. That must be like, it has a lot of votes on there. That's pretty good. So what does your family think about your book you're writing?
Well, once they realized it's not about them, they were happy with it, because like my mom's like, is this me? And I'm like, no, of course not. No, not at all. But no, they think it's really a funny book. Sad sometimes, but and everyone thinks that the main guy is my husband because he's a French guy who wears glasses. But it's not at all. It really is fiction. Like the girl who's Italian like me, like she's so like reserved. Like I'm so loud and annoying. Like it's not me.
That's cool though. So your family was upset the book wasn't about them.
Then afterwards it was like, well, why wasn't it about us? That's the Italian side. It's like oh, so you talking about us? And it's like, no. And then it's like, well, why aren't you? It's like, you're damned if you do if you're not. You're damned if you
Uh-huh.
don't tell your family.
But it's good that you have their support, though. It's good to have family supporting your books, so that's cool.
I'm really lucky.
So, are you working on anything outside of that book series? Like any standalone books or anything?
For the time being, no. I mean, I have like ideas. Like authors always have like 5 books going on in their head. So I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, when I'm done with this series, I'm going to do this and I'm going to, I just keep the wheels turning. But I mean, between the marketing of the book and the writing the new book and editing it, and I'm raising a
Too
family. I
much.
have a child, I have a son, and, cooking dinner, like being a mom, picking my son up from school. I don't really write anything else.
Oh, well, that's all right. Well, once you get time, then I have a few ideas. Because you said that you really like Nirvana. I was like, oh, there's an idea. And like when you have time, you can like write about a woman who, or a woman or a young girl who loves Nirvana, like her like journey through how she became in love with Nirvana. I don't know. Like I have so many ideas in my head, but
Well, Nirvana's mentioned a lot in this book. Like Nirvana
oh,
plays like the '90s rock music plays like almost like a third character, and pop culture
oh,
references. So they're like, there's this one line. It's like she's like, I was old enough to remember seeing the Teen Spirit video for the first
yeah.
time, but I wasn't like old enough to do anything about it because I was like 11. I wasn't gonna like go slam dancing at Lollapalooza. Like I was 11. But like it had an impact.
Right. It would have been cool to see Nirvana in concert. It would have been really cool. But
Yeah.
I was young too.
Yeah.
So, so what advice would you give our listeners who want to start a writing career like yourself, doing it full time? Like, what advice would you give them?
Well, the first thing I would say is just write like no one's watching. Like that saying, like dance like no one's watching. I say that with writing. Don't be afraid of bad writing. When I first started, I would write and I wanted every sentence to be like a Hemingway sentence with these like really fancy words. And what came out was something that was inauthentic, fun at all, because I was trying to sound smart. This was like 15 years ago. So just write and just let it out, and the cool sentences will come or they won't, and just follow a story. So just don't worry about the process. If you love writing, just do it. And the writing like fairies come down and like start new ideas. And like my phone, my in my phone with my notes, it's tons and tons of notes that I go in, and like on Monday morning I go through everything and I throw out what's crap, and then I'm like, that's cool, and you piece it together. So just write and just like enjoy, have fun.
Yeah, that's great advice. I do have one more last question. So, what advice would you give our readers who want to be an author who, like, if they get negative reviews, like, how would you like tell them how to deal with that? Like, I've seen a lot of people post their negative reviews and they like go on this long rant, and I'm like, so how would you help them deal with it? Like, how would you tell them to deal with it? Or,
Well, the first thing I would say is don't respond. Do not respond to negative reviews, because I mean, at the end of the day, reviews are for readers, not authors. And I mean, I didn't have any negative reviews. I had reviews. The lowest as of now is a 3-star review, and where they said that what they didn't like about the book. And some of these reviewers tagged me in social media, so I felt compelled to respond. And I said that. I said, this is not for me. It's not for authors. And I said, thank you. Thanks for taking the time to read my book. It's asking for someone's time is so much more than saying my book is free or it's 99 cents. It's not about the money at this point. It's like, you're asking for a week of someone's life and or a few days. So I just say, you know what, if you get something from it, great, but just keep going on. If you wrote a story, that it meant something to you. I actually just had a review that someone didn't like one of the subplots, but the subplot is really personal and important to me. And there was a lot of people that appreciated it because it gave the characters depth, and it was it was development. And not every book and not every plot is for everyone. But if you feel that you shared your story and it feels good to you, then, you just kind of like live and let live.
That's great advice. I want to thank you so much, Lisa, for coming on my podcast today and chat with me about your book.
Thank you so much. This is
You're like a circle that floats around me, keeping me safe.